This is your radio, Cayman.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
there are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here in this truly terrific Thursday's edition of Talk Today. 949-8837, 949-6990. Of course, the toll-free line is there for you as well. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email Talk Today at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining us. And as we start things off with some open line, got on a schedule and expected to be joined by some of our local attorneys to talk about the sort of changes and the proposed changes in relation to the legal practitioners, legislation, and the like. Always good to be informed, involved, included, and hopefully get a chance to invite the public to listen and to understand how they will be impacted by these things. So, if they arrive, we shall have that conversation. If their schedules don't allow, well, perhaps next time. But as Miss Norma reminds me, the show must go on. I'm thinking, where is it going to go? To the back, perhaps? Well, let's open line and keep my company. Share your thoughts with us. Can't promise you to keep me in the trouble, but at least to keep me, on my toes. So the ball's in your court. 949-8837, 949-6990. If you'd like to pay to play, if not, let's pick up the tab for you with the kind compliments of Flow and offer up the toll-free call for you. 1-800-534-TALK. That's 1-800-534-8255. That's the toll-free line into the studio, whether you call in and talk today for the record, or whether you're going to even be part of the Wednesday's, ongoing Youth Flex program. I always enjoy getting a chance to listen to those guys, and sadly sometimes don't get to spend, even though it's only an hour between 4 and 5 on Wednesdays. We get to miss it, don't get it to catch it all in time. So this is one way where the technology is leveraged, and through the good Youth Flex crew, Jamo and his team, they're able to put it out there, not just hopefully appealing to their own generation, but maybe to the rest of us, and we can watch them, see their progress from say September to June, basically the school calendar year as it were, and have them be able to watch their progress, their maturity, their confidence as they take to the mics. Good way to introduce not just only, prospective, future sort of career aspirants in the field of broadcasting, journalism and the like, but to gain a greater sense of self-confidence and self-awareness. And radio, and to an extent, I would even say that when I monster that we all mountain of screens and stare blindly at, but radio in particular, so much better. 8949-8837. Maybe you could take me up on that. Maybe you'd think something else, but the beauty of radio. 949-8837, 949-6990, or email talktoday@candw.ky, but specifically and preferably, since it's more immediate, accessible, and perhaps something that we all do almost unconsciously, why don't we WhatsApp? 925-3261. And then, if you want, well, Flow has made it accessible, has made it affordable. It's a toll-free call, 1-800-534-8255. Well, it's only Thursday, and for some of us, we've been at work, probably on a 10-day stretch with our shift. Others probably just getting back off a shift and they'll start back today. And for some, we treated Monday like a holiday, so we're only a few days in. Nonetheless, it's been an interesting week. Who knows what tomorrow will bring. But I'll share with you a couple of the interesting conversations with their consent, and actually with their requests. I would say even behest at times. This notion that, one, we're seeing, I asked the fellow if he would either read it so I can read it verbatim, or preferably he would call in and share, or even just, which I know he's capable of, because like some of us, he still has the ability to leverage the technology. You can record a voice note and send it across, and we'll play it on air just as if he had called. I do understand that sometimes people, when doing that, they're conscious of it. Easy to have a conversation. So as we were talking, he was sharing that you have, from the perspective, the political sort of sides, one, the government and its champions saying, hey, the port is the way to go. We need to do it. We need to do this thing that is being proposed. Then there's the other side of the political equation saying, well, maybe not this thing. Yes, we can do it, but perhaps something different, maybe the timing and the like. And then there are those, others, he said, who may be inclined at some point to side with one political entity or the other, who are not just ambivalent, but perhaps a bit confused. And he was sharing that if we were take a strong, hard look at where we are in a tourism sector. Now, his perspective, he says, if we do sort of move ahead with the port, where should our emphasis be? And is it the cargo that should be a priority? Is it the cruise aspect? Is it now redefined given what has transpired, unfortunately, in the Caribbean in recent years, and in particular in Bahamas, where who knows what will transpire going forward? And should we be more conscious of that? Not only, he said, and it may, when he said he first shared it with someone, may sound a bit, he used the word callous, but I think what he was trying to ensure is that people don't mistake it. It's not a case where one man's meat is another man's poison, or, your trash is another man's treasure, as it were. But he was sharing that if we look at it, whatever resources we have, could we, like we did not long ago with another Caribbean island, maybe be willing, if necessary, reach out to them and say, well, it's not much, but we have some financial resources. Perhaps we have other resources, just like we did with the police helicopter. We can come down and assist you. Would we not want at least to be on the receiving end of such an offer if we were in that case? But even if we didn't, could we offer if we are in a position to do so? And then secondly, he says, what about the fact that maybe the businesses, including the cruise lines, perhaps would rethink their perspective and say, well, should we, tool? He talked about looking at the issue and deciding that they may change their schedules up a bit, potentially. But even if we didn't, could we then leverage ourselves to the point where it says, if you want to have commerce, 7 days a week, well, instead of having all the ships come at one time, perhaps they can all come, but maybe 3 or 4 or 5, maybe a certain number at a time each day, and spread it out over the time. Perhaps we could even say, as his nose has been suggested many times in the past, perhaps we spread it out. Some ships on some visits will have to go to a facility in the eastern districts. Some could come in the central of town somewhere about, and some could come perhaps near the turtle farm. Then on their subsequent visit, they'll be rotating out. Maybe they're not aligned to one particular dock forever. Maybe it's just for the season. Maybe it's on every other visit, because these same ships call frequently. But he also said, not only should we look at it from that perspective, he was questioning whether we should look at it from the view that if things are now changed because of the hurricane and the potential threats of future hurricanes, would we want to be caught off guard if, as his argument was, the cruise lines decide to reduce their numbers, they decide to change their schedules up and reposition some of the ships, and that may not happen for another 5 or 10 years. But if we're looking at a 25 or 50-year project, if it conceivably could happen within that time frame, would that leave us with a shortfall and then have to cover it? Now, beyond that, his other argument was nobody knows exactly how the environment will be affected by this. We don't even know how it's going to affect the people, the traffic, the congestion, the necessary infrastructure to support it. But potentially, what we could expect is that at the end of the day, could we as a people be more vested in this thing and take ownership directly, perhaps through some sort of public corporation that is owned by the people that could eventually take over the infrastructure, not, he said, unlike what the late Bo Miller had suggested. But what is your thought? Now, as he shared with me, some of the things I believe were somewhat stronger political views, but given who he was in an era gone by, well, that would be expected. Who he is now, he says, is an attempt to try to be positioned as someone who is a little more objective. Now, I don't know if when we speak and people hear, do they interpret it as being a dogma? Do they see it as a person with strong convictions and high moral persuasion? Or is it a case where hindsight is 20/20, so with age comes wisdom, with wisdom comes a sense of knowledge and understanding, and through that you might be able to be more willing, perhaps because of your circumstance in life, your financial sort of setting and security, or it could just be that maybe you say, if someone doesn't say it, then who will? If you don't say it now, then when? Well, those were some of the comments he shared. A few others perhaps will be, if he doesn't call me during the break and say, listen now, don't talk out of school. But I don't believe I did him an injustice. I think I repeated as he had shared. Your thoughts though, 949-8037, 949-6990. Or toll free with the compliments of Flow at 1-800-534-8255. Call and share your thoughts with us. Certainly send us your thoughts on our WhatsApp, 925-3261. And we did have a few guests scheduled to join us to talk about the Cayman's Legal Practitioners Association, the Legal Practitioners bill, the changes some of you know about it. So hopefully they'll find their way to the studio. If they do, we shall chat with him. But if not, well, it'll be just you on that side and I'm on this side and Paul on the other side. So together it should form a strong triangle. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
The Cayman Islands Cancer Society presents Conquering Cancer 6. Let's fight cancer together. This event will offer you information about new and innovative ways of screening, diagnosing, and treating cancer. Come and learn from the top medical professionals from leading healthcare providers from near and far. The event takes place at the Marriott Beach Resort the 21st of September. This interactive health fair is free to the public of all ages and will include free healthcare screenings for glucose level, blood pressure, BMI, and cholesterol, as well as free health food samples.
Kind of like one surgery fits all. You're saying, that's not necessary. That's not going to be the case with me. And that's good to hear.
For the Health of It is proudly brought to you by
Eating Clean. Wake back up to quality foods with eatingclean.com. That's clean with a K. EATINGKLEAN.com. The Breeze Fusion is back Saturday, November 2nd.
Bigger and better.
Now featuring a 5K walk run and a 10K run for half marathon trainers. Join the fun and help raise funds for the Central Scranton Park and the NCVO. Save the date or register now at CaymanActive.com or at Radio Cayman Studios. Registration is only $15 if registered by September 30th. And all early registrants enter to win a Cayman Airways voucher. The Breeze Fusion 5K, 10K walk run. Saturday, November 2nd.
Did you know that once properly sanitized, some tinned food items may still be safe for consumption after coming in contact with floodwater? In order to properly sanitize these tins, always remove labels and then wash tins in a strong detergent solution using a brush to get rid of excess impurities. Tins must then be immersed in a solution made of 2 tablespoons of chlorine bleach per gallon of water for 10 minutes. Ensure that containers are air dried before opening. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit the DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. It is open line as we invite you to be a part of our discussion. Give us a shout and share your thoughts with us. Toll free with the kind compliments of Flo at 1-800-534-8255. Or you can call us on 949-8037 or 949-6990. Likewise, you can WhatsApp 925-3261. Whichever number gets you, into the studio and is your preference, go right ahead and use it. I think they all come through, and we look at it carefully, read it, and share it out, without any sort of, hesitation. So, share your thoughts with us. The other sentiment the gentleman was sharing was this whole notion that, as he put forward, it seems sometimes, and it's, he says, recognizing that being in a similar position in the past, you tend to believe that because you given a title or you've been elected or appointed to a certain place, that sometimes you forget that maybe you cannot just do what you want or what you think is best, even if it probably is. But sometimes if it's a democracy, you have to ensure that there's at least a semblance of participation. At least people seem to have a sense that they can contribute if they wanted to. And he said that now that the elections office has done a stellar job with respect to the verification process, irrespective of whether people thought it was unnecessary, whether they thought it was costly or took too long or, and the end of the thing. It's done, it's legit, and they've reached the mark, or as we understand from the media reports or the press releases, they've secured more than the 100% of the signatures required to make it a bona fide people's initiated referendum. Now, he shared some thoughts on that in relation to the next process, but let's go to our phones and join our callers. Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for calling.
Afternoon.
How are you today?
I'm fine, Dwayne. I just want to say something here.
Of course, sir.
Dwayne, last session when was Mario Rankin in the show.
On Monday.
Some fact he admit that there is certain members of CPR is related to the tender company. That's one of the things he admit to. And the second fact is that he never say where the funding for CPR come from. But from what I gather, that the most of the funding come from the tender company. And since when Johan Maxim and Mario Rankin really concerned about the Caymanian people? I just want to ask you a question here. Did you ever see Johan Maxim or Mario Rankin form a group when the Caymanian people not get a job?
But if I may ask you, I hear some of the implications, but if you have time and you're willing to engage for a moment, let's take the sentiments of those two gentlemen. Remember now that Mr. Maxim did serve as president of the Chamber of Commerce. If I recall some of his sentiments, not only here as a guest, but also always published in the media from the public pronouncements he's made as chamber president during his tenure, would it not indicate that he probably expressed some interest in the populace, in the working population, in the employability of Caymanians?
Yeah, Dwayne, look, I want to say here something.
Yes, please.
I watched when Mr. Maxim was in the Chamber of Commerce as president.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what he did. Did he call in the business people to employ Caymanians? No, he didn't.
You sure?
And all the while he was defending the business people. He never defended the poor and regular people, the individuals who are suffering in this country.
Right, well, I won't get into any attempt to speak for Mr. Moxham, right?
More than the foreigner who they put them president of chamber.
But as I listen to you, I mean, do you not think then that, and Mr. Moxham perhaps not only the most equipped, but, perhaps better positioned to speak to those issues, but when we look at the presidents of the chamber over the years, would you rank his tenure worse than, just as good, or better?
Dwayne, I don't see he done anything benefit the Caymanians when he was as chamber president.
But isn't the chamber lobbying effort for businesses?
Subject here. I want to ask him, why he's so interested in the issue of the board and not interested in forming a group to defend the Caymanian people in different aspects.
Okay, you have made a number of let me ask. Let me ask of you. You have made a number of public comments about things affecting the society. Why do you take such an interest
to this country?
Yeah. What makes what is it that has driven you to make some of the public statements that you have made? Is it your love and interest of the people? I mean, what is it?
Because always I defend the poor people in this country.
Right. So, and I think that's commendable, right? Your sentiments.
Here, I want to clear something.
Mm-hmm.
I am not with the government with the proposed port in Georgetown. I am with the port out of Georgetown.
Okay.
I am never give any support to the government. I never have any association with the government, and I am not friend with them. They done me so much bad, and everyone know in this country. So
right.
Nobody
but
can accuse me. I am motivated by the government.
Right. But are you then, by your public comments, do you think people could get the impression that you would either be for the government or at the very least opposed to the efforts of the populace through the work of CPR?
You see, the formation of CPR from beginning was motivated by the tender company. And I know, and I have this information, and I know for sure it is being formed by motivation and funding.
Okay, that may be, company. Right? But let me ask then, given your statement that you're not for the port in Georgetown, you're not for the government, if you could vote, and the question on the referendum was, listen, do you support the port going in Georgetown as proposed, yes or no? What would your response be?
No.
Okay, so if that is, and that's what you shared earlier, and you're consistently saying that, if that is the case, then what is let me use the term, what's the beef with the CPR then? Is it that you perceive them being funded, and what is it that you seem to be opposed to?
Yeah, because it's politics here. First, I think, the CPR is not their motivation to help the people of Cayman or the poor individual or anything.
But isn't the CPR specifically concerned about the cruise port referendum?
Their motivation is not right. The government side for the business people, and Mr. Maxim and Mr. Rankin and others sitting in CPR, their motivation is the tender company.
Are you sure?
That's completely not their motivation, is the people of this country.
But if I may ask then, and I don't want to belabor it, and I certainly don't want to be disrespectful to you or anybody else, but given what you shared, if the efforts of CPR and similar organizations and those who took the time to sign the petition, say, I want to say in this referendum, I want to say whether this or that or the next thing. If that results in more information to the public, to a better proposal, whether in a better place or a better funding or financing arrangement, whatever, if it works out to be better long term, isn't that good for the country and good for all of us?
Yeah, Dwayne, I just want to clear one thing here. I am not saying everyone signed the petition is working for the tender company. Of course, there's a lot of people signed the petition. They care about environment.
Mm-hmm.
They love this country. But here, I think is the people who behind CPR, the one who are motivated.
Right.
One politically maybe who want to run for election next time, and the next people, I don't know what is the connection with the tender company. What is
I hear you, and it is, it is obvious, right? I'll talk over you for a second. It is obvious that it's evident that sometimes some people will say, well, if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything, or they decide, well, this is just as good as a bandwagon to jump onto. But let me ask you one final question before we take the other caller. If as you've alleged, the funding for CPR comes from the tender company or particular benefactors who are looking at political capital or what have you, what is your view on the seemingly situation where the government is spending public funds to encourage the public to vote for the port and to support the proposal?
I think they are wrong to spend public money in advertising for the port. I think this public money should be used to spend in Georgetown, for example. There is a lot of homeless people need a place, and I think 160,000 could build a house, could host a lot of them.
But what if it's more than that? But what if it was only $160 instead of 160,000 or 1.6 million or 16 billion, whatever the sum is, right? You say it is wrong for government to spend public money to campaign against the people, but then nobody seems to be taking issue with that.
I think the anti-corruption and the Attorney General, the police corruption unit, I don't know what they call them. They're sleeping in this country. They never will do anything.
But it can't be corruption, in that sense, right? They're saying this is what they did.
Long time.
All right, fair enough. Well, listen, let's hear from you again, and I always appreciate you taking us to task. Let's take one more call, though, see where this day goes. Hey, good afternoon, and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon to you, sir. How are you today?
My yard is in there.
Well, you're the second person today to tell me the same phrase.
What's up?
All right, man. Talk to me.
Well, I mean that man that come off the phone there. Me and him not too.
A couple of seconds,
yeah, not too winning with him, but I have to agree with him, because you see them two name he call. You see one of them, they tight bad, They want for themselves. I mock some. I call him, I'm not afraid because they can't do me none.
No, man.
He tight bad. I can prove that for myself. And the next one, all he do chat.
But you say he cheap.
I agree with sometimes what Mr. Anjay say.
Yeah.
And when he say, well, it goes, that's true something. True.
Yeah.
True. I got to take off from this time. It's true.
But being tight, right? Frugal, cheap, economical. I can't say.
They're not helpful to nobody. They're just all for this side.
Yeah, but
Mr. Me, you're different.
Yeah, but let me ask you before you go. Let me ask you, what is it to say? A fool and his money is soon parted, right? So I hear you, but then again, it's one thing to be tight, but there's another thing to be,
Yeah, but when you got help, you help people. You don't pretend. You can do. They get doing things and you're not doing it, or you're gonna do it. You're not doing it. Because when you get the thing going, you don't remember the Cayman people. A lot of them around you, so. But don't worry, something coming soon. You remember Ivan? You forget about Ivan, but don't worry. Something coming again. Maybe worse. Sorry to say so, but it may be worse.
Well.
Because our poor people are suffering. And suffering a lot. Some of us can't even get pure jobs, and I have to be careful.
No, man, you say anything. I hear you, man.
You know my position.
Yeah, man. But just keep doing your thing and keep praying for us, all right?
Yes, we got to keep for our football team, too, our girls, our senior boy, our senior team.
All right. Will you happen Sunday night?
That's what they need. That's what they need to push now.
Yep.
That's what they need to push on our football program. See how the boys them doing good now.
Yeah,
girls them doing good. Well, let's push it in that. Put someone in that then, since they want to talk.
Not true.
Do that.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Blessings to you, man. All right. Well, let's take one more call and then another and then another. Okay, good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Good afternoon, Red Honorable Johan Moxham. How are you?
I'm just calling in to defend my sense of conservative economic positioning in life and my frugality.
Yes.
But in all seriousness, I normally don't respond to fools like Amjad and people like that. Only in the Cayman Islands, and I understand how democracy works, can somebody who is definitely a public nuisance be afforded the right to stay in our country and try and defame people by, talking pure rubbish. I can say this, in no way, shape, or form do I do anything with regards to the People's Initiated Referendum or the port because I'm being paid by anybody. Anybody that knows me, those that are in my circle, those that are involved with CPR can speak to that. Is it beyond the sort of tactics of others to employ or pay people to be their mouthpieces and so on and so forth? I'm quite sure that is something that happens in the Cayman Islands, but I just wanted to call and set the record straight and ask you and Radio Cayman, when persons of that sort of malicious intent and level of stupidity call in and seek to defame anybody, not me or anybody, at some point you got to pull the plug on them, right? Because that isn't about free speech. If you've got a valid point to make, you've got a valid point to make. But that entire call was just based on some sort of hypothesis and fantasy created by crazy people like Amjad, who is a public nuisance, and those that sponsor and subscribe to his I guess ability to spend the day calling in on the radio. So I'm not going to take up any more of your time, but just as a man, I needed to call in and say, people, just because somebody can speak don't mean that they talk sense. People like Amjad are a nuisance in this country, and immigration would do well to remove people like him from the country. Maybe he can call into a radio station in Jordan and do that sort of stuff. I don't know. I'm just saying, I understand how democracy works, but come on, guys. We're supposed to be better than this as a country. And I'll leave it there.
All right.
Unless you have any questions for me.
No, man. Leave it there for now. Talk to you soon, all right?
Take care, guys.
All the best. All right, let's take another call. Welcome. Good afternoon. You're on Talk Today.
Well, I have to certainly laugh because I can tell you I didn't know Johan was in the queue waiting to make a comment.
And if what is worth, we didn't call you guys either.
Funny thing is, I just sat in the car and turned on the radio and I caught the tip end of what Amjad said.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what comment he made, and quite frankly, I would never respond to any comment he made because in my mind he don't exist. But the last caller, who happened to be a Caymanian, which blows my mind that he would jump on the bandwagon of somebody like Amjad and make all of these remarks about Johan and the next one. Why he didn't call my name? Why he don't come to my house? You know where I live? 383 Hurst Road, Newlands is where I live. So anytime you're ready, you can come there and have whatever remarks you have to say about me to my face. No, I didn't call to defend any of that. I just called to find out, when you have people like that who call a radio station to try to defame people, why they don't list out the things that they've done instead of having a hand poke all the way out? That's the problem. They don't know what people do in this society. You know, what's really bothering about this is that we can have persons like that who are Caymanians. You can hear in his voice that he's a Caymanian, but yet he decides to take the side of somebody who consistently defame Caymanians, regardless of whatever the issues are. You understand? At the end of the day, I left with him and he left with me. The Jordanian don't have to stay here. You understand? I am Caymanian and I'm going nowhere, and I have fifth generation Caymanian, and nobody's not going to tell me that I should find somewhere else to go or try to make me feel like I should find somewhere else to go. At the end of the day, Sterling,
Mm-hmm.
I stand behind anything that I do, publicly or privately. And when they talk about all for yourself, now, you listen to me. The last 12 and a half months, I have me and many other people in CPR has contributed their time, effort, and money to this cause. And this cause isn't for any gain other than to secure what we already have. I don't subscribe to selling our tourism industry to a foreign entity who only objective is to bleed the country for what they can get. And when the country can't give them no more, they're going to uproot their ships and go somewhere else. Those are the facts. That's the landscape. So if they want to stroke me with the brush and call me whatever they want to call me because of it, I know what my motives are. And at the end of the day, we shouldn't be even having this discussion. And I don't normally call in to respond to people who call in unless I'm on the radio and we can have a debate right then and there. But I just think it's unfortunate that we take our own Caymanians. And that gentleman I know very well. What I don't understand is that every time I see that gentleman, he has nothing to say to me in anything in that regard. But he can get on the radio and hide behind the radio and say those things as opposed to coming and having a conversation with me. He don't know anything about me, obviously. And it's unfortunate that we have people who can divide the mentality of our own people to fight against one another. Don't you see that that's the big plot? That is the plot. Have us all fighting amongst ourselves while we fighting. They're taking everything they can get from us. You understand? Mm-hmm. I'd rather you get everything and me nothing than somebody else and somebody else get anything at all. And that's how I see it. But that's my personal prerogative. That's my personal opinion. But I fight everything I ever done in my life from a public standpoint. I've done for the betterment of everybody in Cayman, nobody else. Because I can assure you, I've been on your show for how many times? Have you ever heard me get on any self-pity or in a self-serving agenda? There's many things that I went through because of being a public speaker and being somebody who speaks out public against the issues. I've been victimized, and all those things have happened to me. People wanted me to sue the government and all that, and to this day, I took one for the team. And I still consistently go out and fight for this place. But yet, we got these institutionalized Caymanians who think they got it all figured out. If they had it all figured out, they wouldn't be out there waiting for somebody to give them something. They'll go out there and get it for themselves and unify as a community and start doing things on their own as opposed to waiting for the government to push their hand out and give them something. Anybody who rely on the government to feed them and their able body and got enough credit to call the radio station should be ashamed of themselves, as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, I'll leave you there and listen in.
All right, thanks, man. Hopefully we get a chance to chat with you a lot more. All right, enjoy your afternoon. Hey, the phone lines are open. 949-8837, 949-6990. Hey, the good guy at the end of the table says, time for a break. Well, follow the instructions. When we come back, more talk today.
Think about something that makes you happy. Did it make you smile? We know it did, because that's what we do at Sagicor. Put smiles on our clients' faces every day. With a large range of products to cover your family, it's no wonder most locals choose Sagicor for their life insurance needs. Serving the community for over 25 years. Let us put a smile on your face. Call your Sagicor advisor today.
CUC advises motorists using Fountain Road in West Bay to exercise extreme caution between Thursday, September 5th and Friday, September 20th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. CUC's crews will be installing new poles and line hardware on Fountain Road between the junction with Hell Road and the junction with Finch Drive and Bosun Bay Road. Customers' electricity service will not be affected. CUC will have a number of vehicles and personnel in the area and will be required to temporarily block one lane on several sections of Fountain Road. CUC thanks motorists and the public for their cooperation. For more information, contact CUC's customer service team at 949-5200 or email service@cuc.ky.
Did you know that once properly sanitized, some tinned food items may still be safe for consumption after coming in contact with floodwater? In order to properly sanitize these tins, always remove labels and then wash tins in a strong detergent solution using a brush to get rid of excess impurities. Tins must then be immersed in a solution made of 2 tablespoons of chlorine bleach per gallon of water for 10 minutes. Ensure that containers are air dried before opening. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit the DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
RC Fusion featuring Billboard pop hit songs and more from the 70s to the 90s.
RC Fusion.
Weekdays from 10 a.m. till 12. RC Fusion.
RC Fusion is proudly sponsored by Purple Dragon, building the strong leaders of tomorrow.
Cool.
Call 946-1241 or email purple@cnw.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. It is open line until, take your calls and have you share your thoughts with us. Quick couple of WhatsApps came through as we share with you before we go to our news at 1 p.m. One says, agreed with the last two callers in reference. One shares, free speech is not a defense to a defamation lawsuit. And another, as I paraphrase, shares that, people sometimes put others in harm's way by, maybe putting them up to get into certain mischief. And the whole issue of public nuisances need to be properly addressed. Well, 949-8037, 949-6990. We'll pause and we'll take a break. When we come back from our headlines at 1, we'll have a chance. And who knows, we might be able to even, we will bring someone into the studio and have a very engaged conversation, tap into his intellect, his not just his acumen, but his passion and conviction and his contention that we work better together for the strength of the wider communities. 949-8037, we want to take your calls and have you share your thoughts with us. If you want to take advantage of the Flow toll-free line, well, do so. 1-800-534-8255. If you prefer to WhatsApp, 925-3261. All those numbers lead you to the same place. And that is an opportunity for us to hear from you as to what you're thinking. Now, I know sometimes it's challenging. We don't even find safety in numbers. We don't find that if we speak the truth, that it will set us free. We find that, at least for the short term, we may become imprisoned, in a sense, because we impose upon ourselves a sense of censorship as opposed to being willing to stand in the gap. Well, others are more courageous than some. Others, once bitten, twice shy. Some, they say, never learn. They just keep pressing on because they know that the end, there is a just cause. So therefore, if they can make their means likewise, they'll find absolution. Well, the headline news at 1 looms, and as we come back from it, we want to invite you to be a part of our discussion. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Bracken, Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman.
Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
Police can now confirm the identity of the woman who was found unresponsive at an address off Owen Roberts Drive on Monday. She is 51-year-old Sharon Andrea Clark Smith, a Caymanian status holder originally from Jamaica. While the matter is currently under police investigation, the RCIPS expresses condolences to the family of the deceased. In news elsewhere, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has flatly denied a report that his country was spying on the U.S. A Political article cites 3 former senior U.S. officials who say Israel was likely behind surveillance devices found near the White House. But a statement from Mr. Netanyahu's office said this was, quote, a blatant lie. There is a long-standing commitment and a directive from the Israeli government not to engage in any intelligence operations in the U.S. BBC reporters have contacted the State Department for comment. A preliminary report estimates Dorian caused some $7 billion in damage, but the government has not yet offered any figures. Crews have started to remove some debris on the islands, but they are moving slowly to avoid accidentally disturbing any bodies lying in the rubble. The official death toll stands at 50, and Prime Minister Hubert Minnis said he expects the number to significantly increase. About 2,500 people are listed as missing in the hurricane's aftermath, although the government has cautioned that it still needs to check names against the rosters of people evacuated from the devastated islands or staying in shelters. Those are your latest updates here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanta Gallego.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
.9 Radio Cayman helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advance notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio Cayman, 89.9 FM.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. 949-8037, 949-6990. And in the studio, and if you were, just want to confirm, because they say seeing is believing. I always say to people, if you listen to the radio, you hear. You watch TV, you see. It's not always one and the same. An active, engaged, informed listener sometimes takes a lot of effort. But here's a gentleman who is not only eloquent, not only, at least in my mind, highly intelligent, but humble. In the form of Mr. Johan Moxon.
And chief.
And chief. Hey, listen, man. You say like that's a bad thing.
No, I remember buying you coffee, though. So
it was
the next
tea.
time...
It was cheaper.
It was tea. Okay,
$2.75.
Please correct callers when they call in and talk about I don't do nothing for anybody. I bought you some tea.
Yeah.
Right? Please.
And I said to someone, I said publicly one time, I said, I don't know who's cheaper, me or you.
I think I got you by a horse's,
Yeah. But listen,
length.
Honestly, right, and being cheap doesn't mean that you're not kind and considerate. It just means that you understand the value of things, right? And honestly, for some of us, and this is part of why I share that of all the subjects, there's another one. I fully respect and appreciate that the school day is already taxed in many ways. And sadly, we take the arts out of school when we get pressured for resources and time. We take physical activity out of schools, and I understand that. But if we could also make sure that they're added back in, but add economics, right? Not just the quantitative aspect, but the qualitative part of it. And in it, you start to learn the opportunity cost, start to appreciate the value for money. That when you get a professional and you get sanctioned by the government, you talk about looking for value for money. Well, seem to be Anyway, let me not be careful there. Mr. Moxon,
I put you on vacation again. I can rate you good. Let me tell you. How long you were gone? 2 weeks?
2 weeks, man.
Yeah.
2 weeks too long.
Tomorrow's Friday. You'll be on another 2-week vacation if you keep up being logical and stuff like that.
No, man. People like logic,
Sorry. Just let me clarify one thing. I was chastised for referring to Radio Cayman as Radio Moscow. Radio Cayman is not Radio Moscow. Certain shows on Radio Cayman are operated like Radio Moscow. They're normally held in the morning, and I just wanted to clarify that.
You listen, an apology like that isn't an apology. You're really looking for trouble. Oh, but the thing is, right, and maybe I'll ask of you, if it's okay. Some people probably recognize that you have legal background as well, right? I've always said this to you, and I respect our people, their ambition, and the drive, the tenacity, the resolve that I see in our people. It exists in other societies. I'm not saying that we have that sort of monopoly. We saw it for a short time after Evan. For those of us who weren't used to that, didn't understand that that's what drives these people who go back to our early days, were trading, not just with the New England coast, but going up to Europe, who didn't have anything but had a lot and made great with what they did have, right? And that is what, when I look at whether we're on the field, whether we're in the classroom, or whether it's an artistic display, but even the motivation of our people. We take the ladies who said, wait a minute, we don't have a right to be a part of this thing that you guys are doing. What makes you better than us? And they did it not with, a lot of fanfare, but not with violence either. Mm-hmm. And they got it in a relatively short time when compared to the efforts of similar people in other parts of the world, and even earlier than larger, more populous, more industrialized nations at the time. Again, it has to be commended for the resolve and the resilience.
Well, I think just to support the point that you're making, we come from solid stock. We come from hardworking people. If you look at, and I'm talking about multi-generational Caymanians, go back into our history, those men that went to sea, they were lions, okay? Yeah. To come from a small rock like the Cayman Islands and to achieve what those gentlemen achieved in that industry, let me tell you, God gave us something in the water or touched a couple of people and said, you can be brave, you can be strong, you can be smart, because formal education wasn't really accessible then. Mm-hmm. But this country was built off the back of hard-working people of integrity. And that's just the men going to sea. But imagine the women that stayed behind to raise the kids. They were, even in my mind, greater champions than the men that went to sea. Because you're at home, you're responsible for everything. Rearing the children, making sure there's order and organization, the household, making sure everyone is fed and kept in line. And I have nothing but respect for our older generation, because they saw and experienced the Cayman that most of us will never, ever comprehend. And so we owe it to them. Where I get disappointed is knowing where our people have come from to where some of our people find themselves now. It's really, really disheartening. The fact that we have Caymanians that think it is somebody else's job to provide for them. They're letting down their ancestors and the people that came before them. I'm not saying you're not supposed to help people. I'm not saying you're not supposed to have government programs to offer assistance and help people up. But there's some people that really and truly have become accustomed to, I'm just going to live off the handouts and the political chicanery that goes on. Because the reality for Cayman is this. At some point in the last 30 years of Cayman politics, we decided it was better to give people money and buy their support on the cheap than to put them in situations whereby they could earn their keep. I respect every single hardworking Caymanian in any field at all. I respect all of those water sports, tour bus, taxi operators. Those jobs are difficult, hard jobs. What I don't comprehend is why our government doesn't pursue policies to help those people exist at a time when inflation is increasing and we live in one of the most expensive, if not the most expensive country in the world. Yet we can focus our attention on something like a proposed cruise berthing facility, which is not free. Royal Caribbean and Carnival Cruise Lines are not giving us anything. There's no such thing as a free lunch. There's no free ride. They're not operating a charity. They're in it for the commercial business making money side of things, and for our government to lie to the people and misrepresent the facts that they aren't on the hook for anything. Do you really think that Royal Caribbean and Carnival Cruise Line would invest $250, $300 million in any sort of infrastructure project when they are on the hook for everything? Then what's even more laughable, at the press conference that the Deputy Premier had when they were announcing the bidder, they were saying they were trying to negotiate and pursue a profit-sharing sort of element with the cruise lines. That, ladies and gentlemen, is fantasy land and fantasy economics. Because if I'm the cruise lines responsible for bringing the clientele here, and at a minimum you're going to need 2.5 to 3.5 million passengers per year, like let's say 3.5 by 2025, 2024, to make that the sort of economic success for the financiers that it can be. But the fact that our government would say and be proud to say they're negotiating a profit-sharing agreement based on what? The cruise lines are providing the customers, they're providing the financing, they're providing everything. On what basis do you think the cruise lines are going to go, and because we like you, and because the water in the Cayman Islands is so blue, and because the sky and the breeze is really nice, yeah, we think we're prepared to give you a slice of the profit sharing when we carry all the risk. Ladies and gentlemen, no business that is successful or is profit-driven operates in that manner. And it's wishful thinking by any elected official to say so, but I guarantee you that there's more chance of Vladimir Putin telling the world that I'm his son than there is of Royal Caribbean and Carnival Cruise Lines sharing any sort of profit share with the Cayman Islands government when they, by government's own words, are carrying all the risk. On what basis would you then share profits with somebody that isn't carrying any risk?
Johanna Moxham, a couple of WhatsApps I want to read to us, right? And other comments there, so I can find a way to put them into it. Says, this one's raised, I'd like to extend congrats and big hugs to the members of the CPR for the sterling, not you, job they have done thus far regarding the controversial cruise berthing issue. Very proud of them and those who signed the petition. I think the people who signed the petition equally need to be commended because...
I'd like to start there. On behalf of CPR Cayman, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude and a million thanks to every single person that supported the initiative, that signed the petition, that was brave enough to sign the petition, because the current political climate that exists is one of intimidation, especially within the civil service. The leadership of the civil service will say that it's not real. The leadership of the civil service ask their employees why people are afraid then. Because I don't think and I don't believe in the boogeyman, but people only fear what's real. Intimidation happens in various different forms. Sometimes it's very overt. Sometimes it's very subtle. The deputy governor, who's a great Caymanian, I'll just call that what he's a great Caymanian. I think he means well. I think he might send out an email or a message to say there'll be no persecution, there'll be no this, there'll be no intimidation. But at the end of the day, he doesn't know what happens in every department, and he probably does not have his finger on the pulse of the political machinations and the level of influence that politicians are able to wield on the civil service, because as opposed to years gone by where there was a clear separation between the administrative side of government and the senior service, civil service management, there's now one big blend and mix up. I'll give you an example. In years gone by, no chief officer would ever be on the road show promoting government policy. Their job would be the administration and implementation of said policy. But now you have senior officials within the civil service in the form of chief officers, deputy chief officers, HODs, and I can understand an HOD like the Department of Tourism engaging in a public campaign to a degree because they're the subject matter expert technically. But when you have chief officers pitching, promoting, and selling the idea of a government policy, that is the job of a politician. The job of a civil servant is to implement that, but that line has been blurred, and now the unelected gods in the Cayman Islands are senior civil servants who act and understand that we hold the power. Because I can wait you out for 4 years and basically make your life hell if I don't believe in certain things. But because of the mix-up that has gone on, that power is almost like an aphrodisiac. And you have chief officers now that have run amok. You have chief officers now that basically act as politicians and are encouraged to act as politicians when it is suitable for the agenda of the elected politician to do so. And we need to get back to the point whereby there's a clear separation between policymakers and policy implementation and those that are responsible for doing so. Because right now, we've got a mixed bag. You'll have politicians that complain about chief officers that have too much power, but when it's convenient for them, they love that chief officer that'll go out there and take the licks for them. And so that's something that needs to get cleared up. But when you look at the rank and file of the civil service, fair political retribution. I have spoken to multiple senior civil servants that were deathly afraid of being seen to be signing the petition. Now, the petition and the rights afforded to every citizen in this country and registered Caymanian voter is clearly set out in Section 70 of the Constitution. So a petition which is either you want more information or you support the poor or you want the opportunity to have your say on the matter, that drove certain people into serious fits of fear. You've had senior civil servants staking out parking lots, grocery stores, shopping centres, watching and observing who comes in, who signs, who does whatever. I'm not asking you. I have the proof. I've seen photos of senior officials of the Ministry of Tourism spending their Saturday monitoring who goes in and out of a certain place where adverts were being done for the CPR campaign. Now, I don't know if they get paid overtime, but that's a high level of dedication. And the question is, is that what the country has come to? Is that really what the country has come to? Because that's not the type of country I want to live in. And that's why I say a special thanks to everybody that was brave enough to sign the petition, because intimidation and political retribution is real. And nobody from Mr. Madison, from Governor Roper, from the Premier on down can tell me otherwise. Because you know why? They know the game. They play the game. And they will never admit to any form of political intimidation. They can't, because then that means they have failed. And nobody's going to ever hold a hand up and go, yeah, I kind of let that one get out of control. My bad. That's not how the system works. The system within the civil service has always been about fear and control. And who you know, what groupings you're a part of, what secrets you keep, what fraternities you're a part of, so on and so forth. It's been that way from day one. It's no different in 2019.
So then, if, as you've postulated,
does
I like
that
the word
postulated? I like that one.
Yeah, that's good.
That's really good.
But you're not part of respiratory. Jeez.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but I guess sometimes something good can come from the west, huh? Or the north. 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. I enjoy chatting with people like you, Moxon, because I like not only the candor, but the respectful way that you put things that may irk certain people, but still it engenders a sense that if we have a healthy democracy, we must at least be able to engage in some sort of public discourse. Now, some of the things that you've shared here in the last few minutes, prior appearances, perhaps not enough, and even publicly as chamber president or even otherwise, people say, but Johan, there's an agenda.
I can tell you what my agenda is right now. I've said it on this radio station before. I've said it on multiple radio stations. I know the type of country I want to live in. I fear for the direction that our country is taking. What concerns me greatly is the gap between the haves and the have-nots is accelerating by the week, by the month, by the year. I am extremely concerned that Caymanians don't matter in Cayman. We have become second and third class, and the only value placed on people is money. In Jamaica, Jamaicans matter. In America, Americans matter. In Canada, Canadians matter. But the Cayman Islands has now become a place where if you are pro-Caymanian, you are labelled as xenophobic. You are labelled as some sort of disruptive force. I don't want to live in that type of country, and I'm going to say this, and it's no offence meant or to anybody. Cayman is walking a path where we will become just like some of our regional neighbours, like the Bahamas, like Jamaica, like some of the failed states that were once great. And I don't want that for me. I don't want to retire in that type of country. I don't want that for my children. I don't want that for my nieces, my nephews and nieces. I don't want that for yours, because at the end of the day, Cayman has always been an incredible, magical place. Where else in the Caribbean a country this small that produces nothing, no manufacturing, no farming, no nothing. Look at the quality of life that Cayman portrays and what exists. Look at the financial services industry. The financial services industry is the largest driver of our economy, and the thing that effectively gives us, in my mind, a first world sort of status, because the knock-on effects from financial services leads to increased development, construction, that third pillar of the economy, so on and so forth. If you don't have a strong financial services industry, if you don't have good rules and courts and regulations, other businesses and other industries would not be interested in coming to the jurisdiction. But I don't want to live in the next Jamaica. I don't want to live in the next Bahamas, places that business no longer want to be in. I don't want to buy a gun to protect my property and my family. I don't want to see our people accepting their lot in life where it's okay to beg. There used to be a time when Cayman people were proud. Yes, there were families that were poor and lived below the poverty line, but now it has become acceptable for people to beg and expect for somebody else to help them up. It's as if hard work would kill. What I don't understand is the government know full well what they've created, because they do things like, remember when the UDP and McKeever Bush started up with the NICE program? It was the worst thing possible. This current administration, the PPM, said it was vote buying, it was dishonorable, it was just a band-aid. Now this same PPM-led unity government have taken the NICE program and extended that to Christmas and summer. And here's the cool thing. They only give you a job for 2 weeks. What happened to the other 50 weeks of the year or 48 weeks of the year? We are now accepting that our people should beg and do certain things because we haven't prepared our people at a systemic level. Systematically, we have not prepared our people by ensuring not everybody's going to be a lawyer, not everybody's going to be an accountant, a doctor, IT person. We have not given our people the tools and been honest enough with them to say, listen, you're going to be successful if you work hard. Yes, you need some luck, and yes, you need a break and all the rest of it, but the foundation is have basic skills, show up on time, work hard, earn yours like how your grandfather did, your grandmother did, your great-grand, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. Because politically, it's easier to just replicate the blueprint of a Jamaica where I can buy you for groceries, fried chicken, and $50 every week. I can come see you. That's what we've created here. And I don't want to live in the country. I don't have all the answers. I don't pretend to have all the answers. But I know this. The Cayman Islands is better than that. Caymanian people are better than that. I thought our leaders were better than that, but our leaders are more about maintaining the status quo that keeps them in power, keeps them elected, keeps them in their cushy positions than it is helping the people. They'd rather help a select few than help the masses, and that's why we find ourselves in the situation we have today, and that's why you have a historic event like People's Initiated Referendum, because the government were arrogant enough to think that they could ignore the masses and the concerns of the masses and do what they wanted. But they didn't understand there's a whole new Cayman that is developed, made up of multi-generational Caymanians, new Caymanians, white, black, green, purple, fat, skinny, small, grey, whatever you want to say. They are disconnected from the Cayman that exists today. That's why they're facing a People's Initiated Referendum. So that's my agenda.
All right. We'll talk to you more about that, but we do have some callers. Thank you for listening and joining as we go to our phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Yes. I just like to stick your guest up there on a comment that I heard him make a little while ago, and I don't want to dwell on this too long, but
yes, sir.
He made a comment, something to the effect I was just tuning in to Radio Cayman, Radio Moscow, and I just like to say to him, I don't think that is in line with what we're all about here.
Mr. Loxley, before you continue, did you hear the full comment and did you get the gist of what I was saying?
I think well, let me finish. I think I got the gist of what you're saying.
Because I made it clear that Radio Cayman is not Radio Moscow. I was alluding to something else, but I'm not sure if you understood that. So I know that you're the former head of Radio Cayman, and I know it's your baby, and you feel very personal about it. But again, I did explain, so hopefully you heard that before we get into a tete-a-tete.
Well, maybe you can re-explain to me, because what I got, I was driving, you heard the Radio Cayman is like Radio Moscow. Now, maybe I missed a word there, or an adjective, or a verb, or something.
Again, just let me be clear. I have referred to Radio Cayman, and particularly the morning show, For the Record, hosted by Mr. Orrit Connor, as Radio Moscow. I've not ever called into this show or any of the other shows and described it as Radio Moscow. The reason why I've said that is because in the morning show there's a clear agenda, and there's a clear sort of, in my mind, and from what I've seen, if you call in and you ask any questions, or if you're taking a particular path that is contrary to or does not meet the sort of same expectations of the hosts, you got about 30 seconds on the phone before we cut you off and we go to commercials. And so that is the basis upon which the reference of Radio Moscow exists. We are lucky to have Radio Cayman. We always have been. Radio Cayman has been one of the only things that actually worked well in the government for many, many years, even when you were at the helm. So I don't want you to get bent out of shape or offended by that. It was my personal view. It's a tongue-in-cheek comment about the way that one of the talk shows gets run in the morning. So if I've offended you, I apologize, but hopefully you'll now understand, because I have no qualms in giving that same explanation to OC as host of For the Record, and I've done so on air, and I've done so privately. So hopefully that will put the matter to rest for you.
Okay, well, just so that you have an understanding that the defense of freedom and democracy, independence, free speech, at times there always should be a fine line between them, and at times they do get kind of overlapping each other. And I think on the whole that these morning shows didn't just start here a few years ago. There were morning shows on Radio Cayman from 1983 that stood up for the freedom, democracy, independence, free speech, and what had to happen to make sure that was maintained. Even before Radio Cayman came on the air, as far back as probably 73, when the department was being formed up, that was one of the foundations of what was to come. Now, grant you, it's probably got a little skewed over the years, but I think all in all, we have a media outlet that tries to do the right thing.
I would agree with you. I think under the management of Miss Norma MacPhail, she's been first class completely. The way that she's afforded and accommodated different perspectives is greatly appreciated. Radio Cayman has always been so special to the people of the Cayman Islands. It was the only radio station that we had for years, and I personally thank everybody that contributed to that. But you're absolutely right. It is a vehicle for democracy and freedom of speech and expressing your views. But I know that there's also a lot of pressure that comes with that. I know that when persons like myself or others that hold views that are very different to the government, there are inquisitions and there is pressure and there are conversations, because at the end of the day, this is a very political environment that we're in. So I say all of that to say I agree with you. I respect your position. But at the end of the day, it is not beyond politicians to use government resources and try to limit persons or messaging or a way of speaking and thinking that runs counter to their objectives.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's human nature. But here is where the fundamentals of freedom, democracy, and free speech comes in. It's the people who will defend it. And I think over the years, as far as Radio Cayman go, it has been defended up and down the line. And I feel that anybody referring to it as Radio Moscow, making any reference to Radio Moscow, is not worthy.
That's your opinion, and we'll agree to disagree on that because that's how democracy works. You're allowed to have your opinion. I'm allowed to have mine. When you get subjected to being cut off, when you call into a radio show the way that I have done repeatedly, perhaps you might have a better appreciation from my perspective.
Well, yeah, no, I agree, you know, and I've had the same thing happen to me right on this forum here. But yeah, and there has to be that balance. But I can tell you that unless you've had to stand on the precipice and defend these things, there are times that these lands are going to get skewed a little bit, that the fine line are not going to be able to be maintained. But so let's not be too overly critical about it, but speak out on it, yes. And let's get off that subject. But I think hopefully I've made my point.
No, you did. Thank you very much for that, Mr. Loxley. Greatly appreciated, and I take your point.
And you know, it's I think we live in a good country. It may be being peered away from us, but still, and I think it's these kind of forums that we have to make sure that we maintain the balance, and that there's always going to be a balance that you're going to have to maintain. And if the freedom-loving people, people who love democracy and who love free speech don't rise up, then rise up and speak, then it's going to get skewed more. And I think that this referendum that apparently it looks like it'll come about should be a wake-up call for people, democracy. The people are the ones who ought to be running this country. And I think that this should be a manifestation of, you know, the Caymanian democratic model of democracy. And there'll probably be more to come later.
Yes, sir. Anything else? Well, thanks very much, sir. And with that, we have the commercial break. Callers online, WhatsApps to read. More comments from Mr. Moxham. It's going to be a good afternoon. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium. For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Before, during, and after a storm, the Water Authority will use all available media channels, including social media, to advise the public of when the water supply is connected and safe to use. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter for more hurricane preparedness tips. Visit the Water Authority's website at www.waterauthority.ky or follow us on social media.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
All
the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio Cayman for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of Cayman's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international. Turning to international news. Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio Cayman News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Cayman, get ready for this year's 2019 Fidelity Fun Run Series. Join us opposite John Gray High School for the first 3 Saturdays in September at 7:30 a.m. for an exciting 2-mile run. Whether you're a serious competitor looking for a fun family activity or you want to take an early stroll, the Fidelity Fun Run Series is the event for you. Strollers and pets are welcome, and we've got trophies up for grabs as well. Register today for the races on September 7th, 14th, and 21st. And get your Fun Run t-shirt. To register, visit CaymanActive.com for more information.
There are plenty of reasons to be a Logic customer. There's lightning-fast internet connectivity. There's the great overall customer experience. And now, you can improve your Wi-Fi connectivity with Logic Boost Wi-Fi for free. With Boost, you can extend your freedom to stream, game, and download seamlessly anywhere in your home, like your patio or your underground lair if you have one. Sign up now for any Logic Bundle package and get free Boost Wi-Fi for a limited time. Visit logic.ky for details.
Today, millions of people all across America are building a life in recovery from addiction and mental illness, helping themselves
and helping each other, with friends, family, and community lending their strength and support.
Join the Voices for Recovery.
Together, we are stronger.
Join the Voices for Recovery and attend one of our upcoming workshops to learn how you can support someone impacted by substance abuse. District workshops will be offered during the month of September in West Bay, Georgetown, and East End. For further information, contact the Department of Counseling Services at 949-8789.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us, and thanks equally to Mr. Johan Moxon. You're not just sitting in the phone and taking the toll, but let's go to the phones and hear what these callers have to share. 949-8037 or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Hey, good afternoon, Dean.
Good afternoon. How are you today, friend?
Okay, good afternoon, Mr. Moxon.
It's just Johan, brother. How you doing?
Okay. Well, I think what the government needs to focus on that is very important right now. A few things. First of all, they need to find a solution for the garbage dump. They need to find the funds to start building trade schools. They need to find the funds and a way of contributing towards our Caymanians after they retire, towards their pension. And I think I've mentioned it before and I'll mention it again. They need to start collecting concessions. They've given away hundreds of millions of dollars worth of concessions. And a lot of this money could be put towards trade school fund, pension fund. And when it comes to the garbage dump, the government is going to have to get serious and start making it a law that people start separating their garbage in order for it to be collected for recycling. And because if the people don't get together with the government in realizing what a serious problem the garbage dump is, there's going to come a day, and I think the garbage dump will become our downfall. Because right now, the cruise ships, when they come in, they can see it. I remember my last flight coming into Cayman in January, coming back from England. It was very discouraging to see the garbage dump in the situation we're facing now with it. And Ard McLean, the opposition leader, has said that one of the main reasons they didn't want to move it into Bordentown was because the same thing that happened in Georgetown was going to happen in Bordentown. So that says to me that either they don't have the right solution or plan in place in order to move it. And as long as we're putting more garbage into the existing garbage dump, as long as we're putting more garbage in that garbage dump on a daily basis than what we're taking out, it's only going to get worse. And not only the height of it, because 15 years from today, if we have a population of 100,000 people, we're going to be in serious trouble with our garbage dump. But not just the height of it. Right now, it's going on 7 stories.
but not just the height of the garbage dump, the health problems that could occur from that garbage dump is the main concern. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
All right, thank you too, sir. Enjoy your afternoon. And in the studio, Johan Moxham. Now, a couple of, let's read some WhatsApps. For those who want to join us, you can call toll free at 1-800-534-8255. Okay. Says, good afternoon. And these came in a while back. I read them in the first one last out. So, use our old accounting method. So that's the first one that came in. I'll take this one first, right? First in, first out, they say. It's rather unfortunate that the caller and the other local caller found it necessary to try and discredit you and Mario. So Mario Rankin, you are Moxham. Yesterday marked a historical event for Cayman and the Caymanians, and efforts should be commended, not ridiculed. Why make this a personal attack on them or their character? Has either of those callers signed a petition being for or against the matter? Question. And we just had one. Says, with respect to the referendum, says, good afternoon, congratulations to CPR Cayman. This is a golden opportunity for everyone to participate in authentic democracy and set a precedent on inclusion and collaboration for Cayman and the overseas territories. Every citizen abroad and in the Cayman Islands has the opportunity to vote and influence the future of the country. So I hope that for the purposes of the first People's Initiative referendum and the government who created this opportunity in our constitution, as well as CPR Cayman, can work together to encourage and educate a full participation. So partnering for democracy, bringing people, families, and businesses together, something the Cayman can be proud of. Right? So calling on government and everybody. This one reads, says, we not only signed the petition, but we had to basically do it twice because we had to go back in and reconfirm our signature and sign again. So that is obviously a sign people was all for this to happen. So the Premier should take a good look at this and let it roll now so we can go and vote.
Again, what has been achieved, and CPR are a grassroots initiative, a collection of Caymanians, first generation, multiple generation. Every type of Caymanian is in our mix. Started up with a handful of people who had questions, just kind of coffee conversations. It then expands to others who have, you find out, well, wow, there's 3 more people, there's 5 more people, there's 10 more people that have similar sort of concerns. And if you look at the 3 buckets were, how much is this going to cost us? And cost not in just the financial sense, but what will be the long-term financial commitment? And again, I keep going back to this. If the government tells you they're not paying for any of this, ladies and gentlemen, that is a misrepresentation of fact. The financiers of this project are not going to be doing this without something that backstops this deal. Now, they'll say it's the head tax from the cruise passengers, so on and so forth. But the story jumps from the head tax will pay for the port, the terms are 25 years, so on and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have 8 ships and you only have berthing for 4 ships, what happens to the other 4 ships that are out in Georgetown Harbour there? They're going to need to be tendered, right? They're going to need to have some means to get their passengers from ship to shore and back on, so on and so forth. So it's very difficult to believe, especially, and to accept during the winter high season that when Cayman has on average, 6 to 8 ships, that the financiers, Verdant Isle Group partners, or port partners, will end up taking all of the head tax from all the people that come in, because only 4 ships will be using the port, if you understand what I'm saying. The way that the government have explained it has been very, very poor. Government owe it to the people to have a clearer, more simplistic way of explaining how they're going to pay, or how the cruise lines will get their money back for this project. I'd like to think that I have average sort of intelligence, and what they're saying doesn't make sense, because if the head tax is $5.25, but now the cruise lines are going to end up collecting $7.25. Where did that extra $2 come from? And that's a question for the government to answer again. But just going back to what we've achieved, CPR led the charge as a grassroots initiative, but the people of the Cayman Islands did this. This wasn't about Mario, Johan, Linda, Katrina, DG, Mel. This is not about the individuals in CPR. This is about registered voters going, yeah, I have questions. They haven't answered my questions. I have concerns, and I want to have my say. And that's the first time that people have been empowered and galvanized to exercise their democratic rights, which is a beautiful thing. This is happening because the government have misplayed and mishandled the dissemination of information and the way that they try to conduct things in a cloak and dagger sort of manner. When you have a public meeting and you have the Minister of Tourism sitting next to representatives of Royal Caribbean and Carnival Cruise Lines, and everybody in that room on the panel sitting across the stage, you've got the procurement office, and they fail to tell the public, oh, by the way, these two individuals over here, they're part of a bid team, and Johan Moxham has to come up and ask the question, why are bidders up on the stage? Why did you have to hide that? Why did you lie? That was the beginning of the end for them, because things don't add up along the way and they only have themselves to blame. Then they use public funds to fight people from exercising their democratic rights. And what's worse, and I'll just make this last point, what's crazy is you go through a verification process. It needs to be done by the elections office, who did an incredible job, and kudos to election supervisor and every single member of the elections office team. It gets verified, or it gets redone, the referendum gets redone via their verification process. Then you have the Premier and the Deputy Premier telling the country that you can unverify your verified signatures if you choose to do so. Listen, the Premier's a lawyer. How he came up with the unverifying process boggles my mind. I can understand somebody retracting their signature, but to unverify your verified signature, I'm sorry, I'm not a Rhodes Scholar. I'm not even that smart. But anybody, Stevie Wonder, a blind man, could have seen there was something wrong with that. And the question is, why?
Let's go to the phones and ask our callers what their opinions and views and thoughts are. Hey, good afternoon. Thank you for sharing. Welcome to Talk Today.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Good to hear from you. How are you?
Mr. Rambo. I always love when you call, sir. You always bring knowledge, and I just love your delivery and the way that you operate. Mad respect for you, sir.
I appreciate that, man. It's a change of name,
Nah, I will call you Rambo till you die. I'm sorry.
I just mean name. On the spectrum, the number, right? Currently, right? It's a fragmented politics going on, right? And Boris Johnson proposing 15 billion pounds, right? For a bridge from Scotland to Northern Ireland, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would alleviate the back of agreement, right? So that's his mandate now. So in the UK, though, it's a turmoil going on now. A big time turmoil. You can see what's like.
One thing I like about you, Rambo, you follow politics in the truest sense, and in every corner of the world, he reads up, he knows his stuff. I always enjoy listening to you and having conversations with you.
Yeah, I've been told my reading thoroughly. Not fall off everything.
Right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can't be like in a la land, right? But like I said again now, right? How we know over this territory, right? I don't know how they're gonna revive this stuff, but this stuff, Prime Minister, boy, whoever the next Prime Minister is, it's a conundrum sometimes, right? Boy, being full of in, they're really harass us now. Those territories. So really full of, yeah, I tell you, like boy, in a pretty, and for the last 2.5 years, I've been advocating now on that particular topic. So I don't know what Boris Johnson plan to do, right? Speaking House, we need to step down currently, yeah. So I don't know how she got party this will, okay.
I don't think anybody knows, especially the people over there. So the best we can do is
exactly,
read, watch, and pray.
That's all. Because you see, all the countries, right? They laugh at them. All the countries, yeah.
All right.
We came on. We flourishing excellent, right? Precisely in the sport hemisphere. But like I say again, I don't know what they plan to do with us. Don't you territory, especially Cayman.
Yes, sir.
You all right?
All right, man. Hey, thanks very much, man. Enjoy your afternoon. And as you go to the other caller, I just want to share something someone shared with us in relation to what's happening on social media. Some of you might have saw it yesterday. It says, according to the Premier, if we can unverify our signature from the petition, can we also unverify a voter's card and return it? So some people saw that circulating yesterday online.
I think that the Premier's best place to answer that one.
Yeah.
If we can unverify our signature on the petition, can we take our vote back for those individuals that are failing to perform in the way that they promised and assured us they would conduct themselves?
Let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Are you able to hear us?
Yes, I can hear you fine. Thank you. I just wanted to bring something up that I think, I don't know, somehow or another, people keep missing it. And in 2013, a group of ministers from government and other merchants and people from like Land and Sea Co-op and those people went to the FCCA meeting in Cozumel, and we were asking if a cruise ship dock would be a good thing for them. They said, well, for years we've been asking, that it could be a much better idea to have a cruise ship dock because of all the problems that we have been, showing people for 30 years, people out in the hot sun, people having rain fall on them. It's only since Moses Kokerno, who took over as Minister of Tourism, that we now have seats at the Royal Watler where old people who are walking on walkers and have wheelchairs and are able to stay out of the sun and the rain and actually sit down. We never had that before. He did that. But when we went to Cozumel and we spoke to those people, and they said, is there any way that you guys can get involved, because we don't have any money to build a dock. This is 2013 I'm talking about. Okay?
Did you go to that meeting, sir?
Yes.
Okay, good. And you saw all the correspondence and you were involved in all the negotiations?
I didn't look at the correspondence, but I saw that they were trying to talk to these people to get them to build a dock.
Yeah, but were you in the meetings and did you sit in on the meetings?
Talk. Excuse me.
No, I'm just trying to figure out because I'm.
Well, I listened to you on the radio and you were talking. I'd like to be able to talk.
No, I agree with you. I'm just trying to figure out if you were actually in the meetings, because there are a lot of people that are paid and given a script and encouraged to call into radio shows from Support Our Port and all the rest of it. So I'm just trying to make sure that you're not one of those people.
Johan, I know that you're very negative towards this, and you'll say anything to bust up this idea of what.
No, I just want to make sure that you're not getting paid to call in. That's what I'm trying to assess.
Me. I honestly and genuinely believe that the next way to the future is a cruise ship dock. From the time of Linford Pearson, when he was the minister of the government, he was trying to get a cruise ship dock. From the time of Berkeley Bush, when they built that first dock, people just like you were saying it can't be done. And did you see the meeting? And did you read the paper?
David, that was before I was born. But I take your point. But
just give me a second.
No, but I take your point because you're going into history, and I'm just saying that.
All the time. Are you afraid of me talking?
No. I'm just trying to get to the point of what you're saying, though, because you've gone into history, and I get the history part of it. So I'm trying to understand.
I'm not talking just only about the history. I'm talking about the cycle of events that keeps on happening.
Well, you want to go for a cup of coffee so you can share this with me? Because then that'll take up.
I want to talk on the radio so that everybody else can hear what I've got to say.
Oh, okay.
You keep pretending that you don't know and that you don't understand and you never heard before. Can I do that?
No, but that would be the point. You should come in as a guest then, and then you should come in and.
Is I'm going to have the same problem being the same. I'm here on the radio. I'm talking to you on the phone, and you can hear me on the radio. Everybody else in Cayman can hear me.
But you're talking to me, though, David. You're asking questions of me.
Well, I'm not asking questions to you.
You're lecturing me.
I'm not lecturing you.
Okay.
I'm answering your questions that you are putting to the people, to the government, and saying that you did not get the answers.
Are you a representative of the government, and do you have the answers?
Are you able to contact Port Authority?
Am I able to contact? I have a phone. I don't understand what you mean.
Right? So at any time, you could have found out how much money the cruise ships are paying the government at any time.
Yeah, they pay $5.
You say on this radio station that you don't know and that you have to see some secret file. There's nothing secret about that.
I said that there was a secret file. David, I think you've got dementia going on, buddy, because I've never said that.
Secret about it.
But David, I never mentioned dementia or secret files or anything like that.
If 8 ships come out here into Cayman and 4 ships around the dock, the other 4 ships that are out of the dock still have to pay a fee. That same fee that we're getting right now is still the same fee you're going to get if the 4 ships are off on their anchorage. It's not no different. Isn't that true?
I'd like the Minister of Tourism and the Minister of Finance and somebody official to say that, because
you
David...
can ask Julie Woods and get the same information.
I just spoke about senior civil servants talking about government policy, so I'd like to hear it from somebody elected.
5 days a week, that's what they do
Right.
at their office.
Right.
Is they deal with the cruise ship, and those are the people that you need to easily have called on the phone and asked that question. And then on top of that, you had ministers of government give you that information and explain it in detail, and you still kept on saying you still didn't get the information. And I'm telling you, just like I'm just a bus driver, and I can get the information, how can Johan, who has a phone like me, can't get that information?
David, where's the extra $2 that's going to make $7.25 coming from, since it's really simple and the information is readily available?
We are getting an extra amount of money because they're not using the tenders. So 4 ships will give that money. We're not even talking about the extra 4 ships.
Sorry. David, can I just ask that, because I missed that.
If we have 8 ships and 4 ships are giving us that $7.25, and then we get an extra 4 ships that day, we're still making more money than what we were expecting to make.
But David, if head tax is $5.25, but the cruise ships are now going to get...
That's just from the tenders.
Okay, but hold on. $5.25 plus 2 equals $7.25. Where's the extra $2 coming from, and would that not represent government revenue?
You're getting the government revenue right now that doesn't have a doc, that doesn't have anything.
Okay, but hold on. The entire PR campaign is the government are not giving up any revenue. The government are not paying anything, but you're just saying now that the extra $2 is coming.
We are getting more than $2 right now, and there is no cruise ship dock.
Sorry, if I can ask, because maybe, excuse me.
I don't understand, because the $2 comes from somewhere.
Sorry, Mr. Johan. If you would let me, caller, just repeat something. You said that there were 8 ships, 4 would be on the dock, 4 would be tendered, and then there's some extra money that's going to be paid by the cruise ships. I want to make sure I didn't misunderstand. Is that what you said?
Yes. Let me explain to you.
Yes, please. I kind of...
Cruise ships that are on the dock will be the heightened money that we're going to be making because there's no tendering. Do you understand that part?
So for the 4 ships on the dock
are going to give us the extra $5 that we are not collecting right now.
So they're not tendering, and instead of paying the money for tender, they're going to pay all the same, but not for tender, to be using the dock space.
So the other ships that are out on their anchor have to be tendered. They will be paying $5.25 less. But the cruise ship lines have been paying every time they come into Cayman.
Right.
But I've asked a simple question. Where does the extra $2 come from? I'm not even being cute. Where does the extra $2 come from that makes $7.25? Because it's really simple, Dave, and you're a smart guy, and you can call and use your phone. Guy, but you can't answer that question. So
let's see if you can answer this one. How much money are we making right now from the cruise ships without a cruise ship dock?
How much money are we making from the cruise ships?
Yeah, the cruise ship that came in today, right?
Well, there's $18 a head minus the $5.25 that goes to.
And how much is that, Johan?
18 take away $5.25. It's like
13.
$12.75.
$12.75. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So that amount of money is going to come to us per passenger on ships that are anchored out on a drop-off.
But that still don't explain.
Nothing to do with the cruise ship dock.
Sorry, I'm not good at math, but I can say to you, I didn't follow that because I asked a simple question about the extra $2, and you.
Well, I just showed you where you made 13.
No, but no, that's bad math, Dave. Like seriously.
No, you're getting $13 now. When you put in the cruise ship dock, you're going to pick up the money that you would have gotten from the tenders. The tenders no longer will run ship,
What'll be really good though, Dave, is if the minister could say this.
But I'm saying it to you,
but you're not a minister though, David. Like, come on though. You're not a minister though. You can't even get the math right.
Saying that you had 8 ships coming in and that there was no money being made.
Go back to what you were saying earlier, and I do recognize that you're not elected, so forgive me, but you shared, and I want to make sure I miss that, the ships that are going to be at the dock, who are not going to be tendering their passengers, they're still going to pay the equivalent of the tendering fee. That's your understanding?
Yeah, they're going to pay what they're paying now, which is I think $13 plus the $5 something. So
they can still.
That's quite a large amount of money that we're making by losing the tenders.
Right. Okay. And then.
You understand that part?
No, I hear you. I'm just trying to follow you. And then secondly, again, if Mr. Moxon's question, if it's 5 and then it goes to 7, there's a $2 differential. How do we? Because I didn't quite get it. Maybe you said it and I missed it. Can you explain that for me so I can understand it? Where is that extra $2?
I'm not sure. I haven't remembered.
You can remember everything else except for that part, Dave. Can you please send us the information?
Joanne, I'm still asking you.
No, but
if you're getting $13 and change now, and if you have a dock, you add another $5 and something change, $18. That's not good money. That can't pay a 25-year loan.
So you're saying that $18.
I think the $2 will go to government. I believe is what it is. I can't remember it.
David, David,
it was when I went to the radio talk show that time. Mr. Austin Harris, explained it in detail. We went on the radio talk show, explained it in detail. He broke down the whole amount of money, but I didn't.
Who wrote that one for Austin, though?
Like that. Remember when we went there before?
Who wrote the speech for Austin? That's the point, because it wasn't me.
Well, it wasn't me either.
Okay.
So did somebody have to write his speech?
In my experiences with Mr. Harris, yes.
Isn't that kind of very negative to say about a minister of government? Or
he's not a minister. I have the emails, I have the text messages, I have the facts.
He can't add?
No. I'm just telling you what I've done when he was in the employment of Star and when he was in the employment of Rooster. I wrote emails, questions, presentations. I have all the emails, all the WhatsApps, all the text messages. I have this. So I'm speaking from a position of knowing as opposed to assuming or implying anything. That's what I'm doing.
But is that anything to do with the cruise ship dock you're talking about?
No, I was trying to figure out, if he's not an expert in it, somebody had to write it for him. So where did he get the information from? That's the point that I was making. Because it wasn't you that did it. It wasn't me that did it. So somebody wrote it.
Well, somebody had to have written it. And so if he passed it on, I mean, isn't that good enough?
I would like to hear from the Minister of Tourism.
Well, even if it says from the Minister of Tourism, maybe he had, a principal secretary or somebody else in accounting do that for him. Is that really making a difference?
Again, you're entitled to your opinion, but I'd like to get the same presentation that you get and all those facts. I'd like
bank that. And you want to buy a car, you want to buy a house. I mean, do you have to do all the mathematics to be able to say yes? That sounds like a good loan. I'll pay for that, and yes, I can pay for it, and yes, this is where the money is coming from.
No, I'm glad. Yeah, you kind of do, and I'm glad that you mentioned a loan because that's what this deal represents, doesn't it? Because the cruise lines aren't doing this for free. So when they say there's no loan and there's no revenue to be used, it's not being done for free. So it's an off-the-book loans in the form of a public-private partnership. That's fair comment, isn't it?
I don't know if that's true or not. That's why I don't know if that's fair or unfair.
Well, we should get the minister to clarify that then.
What I think is what's more important is that we build a dock. We're going to need a cargo dock. So out of a question that's been bothering me for some time, if all the people who have signed the referendum, there are about probably 50% who do want a dock, but they don't want it there. And so I've asked these people that whenever I hear them say that, I go, all right, so where would you build a dock? Where would you build a dock, Johan?
But I don't think that's the question on hand, to be honest with you.
Right.
So that's I haven't addressed my mind to that.
Dave, I love...
In other words, you don't want a dock.
No, I you can't put words in my mouth. I think I want something we can afford.
I asked you, if you don't want it in Georgetown, then where would you want to build a dock at? That's a fair question.
But let me ask a question of you. A dock, a cruise dock and a cargo dock, are they one and the same, or are we talking two different things?
There's two different things.
I think they're different things.
Okay.
I think the priority should be cargo,
right,
as opposed to cruise berthing.
Sir, I don't want to. Yeah, excuse me. I've honestly been disrespectful to my team over here. If you want to hang on, and we can join you after the break, but apologies, Mr. Fox, and we've gone over the news break. But this is what Talk Radio is about: getting into discussions and hearing what people's opinions are. Please stay tuned.
Thanks for your call, Dave.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman. We've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
His
His Excellency Governor Martin Roper issues a statement today expressing thanks to the staff at the Elections Office for their, quote, excellent work and dedication in verifying the signatures on the petition for a People's-initiated referendum on the cruise berthing project. Governor Roper noted it is clear that the threshold to trigger a referendum has been reached, and the Elections Office will now be working to ensure that this is conducted in a fair, transparent, and professional manner. The Elections Office announced Wednesday it had received cruise port referendum petition signature verification forms from registered voters totaling 5,305. This exceeds the 5,292 signatures needed to satisfy Section 70 of the Cayman Islands Constitutional Order 2009. In news elsewhere, Robert Mugabe's family say they are shocked at not having been consulted by the government about arrangements for the funeral of the former president of Zimbabwe. Mr. Mugabe, who was 95, died last week while undergoing medical treatment in a Singapore hospital. His body is now lying in state at a football stadium in Zimbabwe's capital. His family and the government disagree over Mr. Mugabe's final resting place. The U.S. Supreme Court's clearing of the way for the Trump administration to deny nearly all asylum claims from Central Americans was denounced by immigration advocates as a death sentence for the many migrants trying to escape poverty and violence in their homelands. The new policy would disallow asylum for anyone who passes through another country on the way to the U.S. without first seeking asylum there. Migrants who make their way to the U.S. overland from places like Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador would be largely ineligible under the new rule, along with asylum seekers from Africa, Asia, and South America who arrive at the U.S.-Mexican border. Those are your latest updates here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Kayeko.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music, and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
We at The Wharf have the only multi-purpose conference room in Cayman, providing high-speed internet and all state-of-the-art audio and visual, and are now open and ready for your meetings and events. Multiple wireless microphones and Dolby surround speakers make your presentations on the giant screen clear and interactive. Imagine your meetings with a view, a full bar and kitchen on site where all your needs are cared for, just a few steps away from the Caribbean Sea. All F&B will be customized to your preference. Call 949-2231 or email info@wharf.ky to start planning your waterfront meeting now.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's back. And this year it's bigger and better than ever. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman presents PACE, the 8th annual Delano Hislop Memorial Journey for Life, 5K walk, 10K run, and introducing the all-new 15K ride event. That's right, parents, kids, young and old. Come out on Sunday, September 22nd at the all-new starting location at the all-new Jasmine Building, adjacent to Coconut Joe's parking lot. Also, participants who raise the most funds can win one of our 3 grand prizes: $250 for third place, $500 for second place, or the $1,000 grand prize. Other random prizes will be available on site. So Cayman, it's time to get active. Sign up today at caymanactive.com/pace to be a part of the 5K walk, 10K run, and the all-new 15K ride event. Sponsored in part by DART, CUC, Cayman Water Company, the Cayman Islands Seafarers Association, Consolidated Water, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, Water Authority Cayman, Borden Holdings, BF Insurance, Cineco, and the Maples Group.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Yeah. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio as we talk about education and otherwise get informed and involved. Johan Moxham sits with us. A few callers online as well, Mr. Moxham. A few WhatsApps to read, but let's go to our phones. Welcome, you're on Talk Today. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Oh, blessed and very thankful, sir.
Mr. Moxham,
Afternoon, sir.
how you doing?
I'm good, sir. How are you doing?
Enjoy listening to you, and here's the long and short with this Burton cruise ship, Doc. We don't need it. It's simple as that, right? And this is really why I call in about my heart goes out to the people in Nassau, the hurricane, and I wish them all the best, and I'm glad that Cayman is stepping up to the plate and doing something. But what about this country with the hurricane that we as Caymanians are experiencing in this country every day? What is happening about this? I don't hear nothing about that. Everybody's ready to jump and help this one and help the other one, right? But nobody's willing to help us, the Caymanian people. We're still trying to solve the world unemployment problem. We cannot do it. We're only 78 square miles. So you make sure that next election, you're on the top list of running, because I can make sure that you're elected regardless of what. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much. Have a good day, sir. Thank you for
sir.
comments. I don't think that'll make Dave Miller happy, but...
I'm not even going there, sir. I probably got you in trouble just being here this afternoon. Mr. Moxham, unless you want to...
They can't fire you now, Sterling, to be honest with you. Like you're the voice of Radio Cayman.
No. Hopefully not a face either.
The afternoon show, let me say that. The afternoon show. Let me get it right.
Well, I try to be. All right, let me read this WhatsApp message. And for those who are listening, I say this, hopefully, Mr. Moxley, you'll guide me. I want a country to be a people with courage. We talked about in the past, referring to the men of, wooden ships and iron men, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we all, as you said earlier, recognize that the women were even greater champions, right? So I want us to be those people, again, who have the resilience, the resolve, the respect, the courage, the enthusiasm, the conviction to do the right thing. Chastise our brothers when necessary. So let's read this WhatsApp as another way of our people using an avenue to make their comments known. This is in relation to the port. This writer shares. Says, forgetting about the merits or demerits of the project and the persons or personalities involved in the raging cruise berthing debate, shouldn't we back away and ask ourselves the simple question: is unbridled cruise tourism good for the Cayman tourism product? Is that the better business model? Can our infrastructure handle any more tourists in Georgetown? What about the cost/benefit analysis? What about considering quality over quantity as regards our tourism product? Why must we, once again, blindly follow in the footprints of other countries in the region and expect a different result? Goes on to share. Says, we know from our other examples what little good this project will do for us. We also know the great cost that this country will be saddled with if we build it, well beyond the political careers of the people who are promoting this project. Knowing that, we need to ask, why? Then that will lead us to ask, Cui bono, who actually benefits from this project?
Now we're getting to the crux of the matter.
Says, and once we have that answer, then and only then can we properly assess whether we should build this thing or prosecute any and all relevant parties.
Don't know who the author of that email is, but that person...
It wasn't me.
that person is definitely woke. They understand the games within the games, and that's what the people should be asking themselves. At a time when the Cayman Islands has a record number of 1.92 million cruise passengers coming to the Cayman Islands at the end of 2018, and with 2019 looking to be another record year of growth, it's not a question of us dropping in numbers, because we've got record numbers and we're still growing. Why are we doing this? Because we're getting the numbers, but more importantly, have we ever considered, or has the government of the Cayman Islands seriously considered the carrying capacity sort of restrictions and the impact that too much cruise tourism will have on the infrastructure and how that may negatively impact the bread and butter and the goose that lays the golden egg, the stay-over tourism product. Again, I understand why certain Georgetown retail merchants are desperate for more people. They figure more footfall equals more business and so on and so forth. But the model of duty-free has changed. Perhaps some of the operators in town have not. But what you can buy in Georgetown, you can buy in any port, anywhere else in the world. But more importantly, you can buy it on the cruise ship. Because the cruise ship is a floating hotel that basically has a captive audience for 7 days. So what are we trying to achieve here? I keep talking about the recipients and the beneficiaries of government-sponsored corporate welfare. Those are the people that have a vested interest to ensure that this project gets done. So if they are contemplating selling their business on to someone else, the idea is to grow the revenue and so on and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that type of capitalism and open market sort of philosophy, because that's what happens. You grow your business to sell your business. But the problem is 4, 5, 6 Georgetown retail merchants cannot drive government policy to the disadvantage of the rest of the majority at a time when Cayman has other priorities. Again, I go back to 1.92 million cruise passengers at the end of 2018 with expected growth in 2019 at a time where resources are already being dedicated to this project. They've gone over $10 million already to try and get this project to where it is. The country has other priorities, but I'm going to say this now. If we're prepared to look out for the interests of 4, 5, 6 Georgetown retail merchants, what happened to the rest of us that own businesses? What happened to the other industries? What happened to the other sectors of commerce in Cayman? Because I'll ask you this. If the government who claim that they're doing this in order to protect jobs for Caymanians and the taxi drivers, why hasn't the government not in negotiations now with their partners, the cruise lines, Carnival Cruise Lines and Royal Caribbean and all of the others that signed up to potential letters of credit and saying, hey, help us get a better deal for those water sports operators, tour bus operators, taxi drivers, and everybody else that's really involved in the tourism ambassador experience. The government are not doing anything to negotiate a higher take-home percentage for any of those individuals. Period. That's not a misrepresentation. That's not me being cute. That's a fact. And if the government truly cared about the well-being and we're not just playing a game and using those people as pawns, my job, if I was elected, would be, Mr. Royal Caribbean, Mr. Carnival Cruise Lines, right now my people are taking home 30% of the entire package of services that are paid. I need to get them going north. We need a more equitable and fair split on what they take home. Tour water sports operators are making less money today than they made 15 years ago. And you're now having a government that is in partnership with the 2 largest cruise lines, Royal Caribbean and Carnival Cruise Lines, and you can't negotiate a better deal for Caymanian water sports, taxi and tour operators, but yet you're telling them that you're doing this for their benefit? There's something wrong with that equation. Secondly, if you are now prepared to protect the interests of 4, 5, 6 Georgetown retail merchants, why aren't we doing a better job of protecting the financial services industry that represents 56% of your GDP, that is the driver of the Cayman economic machine that gives thousands of jobs and revenue to a large cross-section of Caymanians? There's nothing wrong with being a water sports operator. There's nothing wrong with being a taxi driver, a tour bus. There's nothing wrong with working in financial services. But if the duty-free merchant interest is more important than everybody else's interests, the question we need to ask is, why?
Well, let's pause, take our final break. When we come back, more Talk Today.
Cayman, get ready for this year's 2019 Fidelity Fun Run Series. Join us opposite John Gray High School for the first 3 Saturdays in September at 7:30 a.m. for an exciting 2-mile run. Whether you're a serious competitor looking for a fun family activity or you want to take an early stroll, the Fidelity Fun Run Series is the event for you. Strollers and pets are welcome, and we've got trophies up for grabs as well. Register today for the races on September 7th, 14th, and 21st. And get your Fun Run t-shirt. To register, visit CaymanActive.com for more information.
The Cayman Islands Seafarers Association wishes to remind all members the September Social will take place on Tuesday, 17 September at 7 p.m. in the Seafarers Hall, 11 Victory Avenue, Prospect. It is expected that all members come dressed in their CISA shirt. Transportation will be provided as follows. 3 buses will leave from the West Bay Town Hall at 6 p.m. The Barnes bus route in Georgetown leaves the public library parking area at 6:30, stopping at the Cayman Compass building and the airport Fosters. The bus marked Bobo $1 public transport and is blue in color will do pickups from British Caymanian, Uncle Bill's, Walker's Road, Shedden Road, and Crew Road. In East End, the bus pickups are the primary school parking lot, the gas station, and Wreck of the 10 sales starting at 5:45. In Northside, pickups are at Chisholm Store and the soccer field starting at 6:15. In Bodentown, pickups are at the Lorna gas station at 6:45, and in Savannah, pickups at the gas station next to Wendy's. They look forward to seeing everyone on Tuesday, the 17th of September, 7 p.m. at the Seafarers Hall.
The Tuesday and Thursday edition of The Business Buzz is brought to you by Cayman Medical Supplies, providing quality pharmaceuticals, medical supplies, and consumer products to healthcare providers, retailers, and ultimately the patients at a reasonable rate in a friendly, caring, and timely manner. Cayman Medical Supplies is located at number 93 Smith Road, Windward Center. Telephone 949-6211.
The Breeze Fusion is back Saturday, November 2nd.
Bigger and better.
Now featuring a 5K walk run and a 10K run for half marathon trainers. Join the fun and help raise funds for the Central Scranton Park and the NCVO. Save the date or register now at CaymanActive.com or at Radio Cayman Studios. Registration is only $15 if registered by September 30th. And all early registrants enter to win a Cayman Airways voucher.
The Breeze Fusion 5K, 10K walk run.
Saturday, November 2nd.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. 949-8037, 949-6990. Of course, if Johan has said it publicly, and I certainly accept it, if you want to be economically conscious and someone else is going to pick up the tab, why don't you pay, by letting them do so, and then you just make the call. Well, Flo has generously sponsored a toll-free line, 1-800-534-8255. It's good to have you in the studio, Mr. Moxon. Johan Moxon joined us. Now, I'm trying to read a couple of the WhatsApps that have come through, and one just recently asked the question, to what extent have the public been informed of the anticipated infrastructure improvement costs, what they will be, as CPR sort of leading the challenge on behalf of the people. Any sort of official...
Again, there are a lot of questions that remain unanswered. CPR recently wrote to the Premier asking for questions about the entire referendum process and when the updated environmental impact assessment would be shared with the public, what the anticipated or their anticipated date of referendum day would be. We asked for the dissemination of the final business case report and all relevant sort of reports associated with the project. What's interesting or what's glaringly missing is They're talking about the port in isolation, but nobody talks about the infrastructure in Georgetown to facilitate all of these people. Nobody talks about, or no one in the government, and again, for me, I don't want information from government supporters. I want information from the government ministry and the government minister and the relevant sort of personnel.
The source information.
The source to explain, should the project proceed, what is the plan of action for Georgetown? Because you're telling me that you're going to do it in phases, fine, but you're going to have major trucking and some sort of industrial work being done in central Georgetown whilst you're trying to accommodate visitors, whilst you're trying to accommodate cargo. I would like to think that the government would have enough respect for the people to say, this is your country, this is your capital, and here is what we think, or this is what we're proposing to be, is the plan of action during pre-construction, during construction, post-construction phases. But that information and the dissemination of that information is missing. It's restricted to a select few, and coincidentally, it tends to go to persons that are the mouthpiece of the pro-port lobbyists and high-ranking party affiliates. But the country deserves to know about these things. For instance, how is Cayman going to accommodate 2.5 million passengers per year in a central Georgetown sort of vicinity when you need things like public restrooms, you need basic sort of components? Nobody's speaking to that. We talk about the revitalization of Georgetown, and they're talking about cafes and boardwalks and everything else. How are you going to have all of those wonderful experiences when you've got cargo trucking from 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening to 6 o'clock in the morning? That doesn't really make it a fun, calming, welcoming experience if I'm having dinner at a nice outside cafe and I got dump trucks and cargo, trucks carrying stuff. These are basic questions, and I can't believe that nobody in the government is interested enough in sharing that information with the public. There are more questions that come out of this project than anything else, and what makes me scratch my head is, why wouldn't you want to share this information with your people?
I don't want to be accused of defending the government, and I certainly don't want to be.
Or why haven't you done so to date?
Right.
Because it's not that like there's any restriction to doing so, but the cost of the additional infrastructure will be borne by the Cayman Islands government.
But I hear your point, right? But equally, and actually more importantly, I don't want the voters to believe I'm beating up on them, right? But if this is a democracy, I've asked this a number of times. Why is it that there are more people, more voters asking questions of the government, demanding answers, asking, well, you're proposing this, what about this? Where is the voter in this equation asking, demanding, requiring, requesting, ensuring that there is this level of accountability? No.
I think, and this isn't personal to any one
No.
MLA or anything, I think politicians in Cayman are complacent. I think they are disconnected from the concerns of their people because they're busy looking out for a select few things or select few peoples, and they forget that there's a much broader base of persons that are impacted. And it's just old-fashioned arrogance, because if your politician hasn't visited you or had a public meeting or formed a district council or been in touch with you at any point from election day till now, he's taking you for granted, because he's going to show up 4 months, 6 months before the election, and he's going to basically make he or she's going to make every single promise under the sun. But what happened to all the other times? What about the concerns that we have as constituents and as people that live here? I'm going to give you an example. The Prince Charles came, visit. It was a fantastic thing. It was expensive. Fine, no worries. They fixed everything possible to make it look pretty on the outside. Yet, I'm going to give you an example. Georgetown Primary School. That was painted, beautified, the whole 9 yards. What happened to the people that send their children to school there every day? You don't think that they deserve to have that same sort of feeling, or was it only important when Prince Charles was visiting? Because I'd like to ask Prince Charles to come back just about every quarter to give the government the impetus to do things to help Caymanian people so that the place looks and feels pretty, because apparently it only needs to look and feel pretty when there's somebody visiting. But what about us? And that's where, on every issue, inflation on the rise. They're saying that, we've got 900 jobs in the potential port project. The minister promised that list. We're now in September 12th, 2019. He promised that on September 26th, 2018. We're nearly a year. Can't get that list yet. I didn't make the promise, The Minister of Tourism made the promise. They all huddled on the stage and said, no, we can get the list. We'll give you the list. We'll give you the list. With a list of jobs so that Caymanians can figure out, all right, we got X amount of pre-construction jobs, construction jobs, post-construction jobs. Like, all I'm saying is your people have to matter. I am not special. I don't think I'm better than anybody, but nobody's better than me. But politicians really are dismissive of the people, and that's what led to the groundswell of support for a people's-initiated referendum, because the leadership of this country went tone deaf, and they failed to communicate adequately, honestly, and to offer the level of transparency that we have expected from people that we thought were different from the last set. And that's sad, because it doesn't need to be like this. The things that I say, this isn't a personal attack in any way, shape, or form, because I don't think about any of these people at all if they were not an elected leader of my country. I wouldn't have any commentary about their job, their performance, nothing, because their personal life, and a business about any of that. I care about the decisions you make, the money you spend that will impact my quality of life, my children's quality of life, and how our country will grow and develop. And right now, the one thing that I think we can all agree on, there is no plan, or there's no one plan that ties up to anything. The Georgetown Revitalization Plan does not speak to the cruise berthing project plan, because if it did, don't you think somebody would be able to answer some of the basic questions that have been asked and that I've asked today? But again, keep them dumb, keep them mean, treat them mean, keep them keen, show up with some fried chicken, some groceries, a $50 bill every once in a while, buy them a couple of drinks. That is what Caymanians have become worth in the minds of elected politicians. And I'm here to say to every single Caymanian, know your worth. If a politician shows up and gives you $100, get $500 off of him. You know why? He's prepared to buy you, so make it count, because the amount of money these elected politicians make right now, over a 4-year period, at a base, they're making nearly 600,000 CI dollars. Okay? You have politicians that collect a constituency allowance, which is supposed to be for your assistant and for your office. And I challenge you to have a meeting with your MLA in their constituency office, or make an appointment with their office assistant. They pocket the money. Some of them don't have any venue to host a meeting, or they don't have an office, but they pocket the money. And you know what? The system allows them to do that. So they obviously got extra cash. So hit them up. Instead of taking $100 off of them, and we know who shows up every month to give you some money and to buy your support, don't take $100 off of them. They can afford to give you $5 and some fried chicken or groceries or whatever else.
It's on a Thursday, Johan.
I'm just saying.
Listen, thanks, Freshman.
Hey, no, just closing remarks. I think we're at that stage.
Yes, sir.
Again, Cayman, we are nearly there. The first stage was recognizing that we can do more than talk and complain and moan. We can work together. We can galvanize and be united for a common purpose. CPR is living proof of that. But CPR isn't any one set of people. CPR is all of us, because it was made up of every single type of Caymanian. And if anybody is interested in joining, helping, being a part of, we welcome you, because it is a true grassroots movement with no leadership. I'm seen as a leader. I'm a guy in the process, along with some other people that are in the process, and everybody's ideas count. My idea isn't more important than Katrina's, which isn't more important than DG's, which isn't more important than Mario's. It's a true sort of majority votes movement. And it is the living proof that if you work together and if you stay committed to the cause. And when I talk about commitment, I think of people like Shirley Ralston, who was disrespected in this very same studio when she called in one day, and one of the MLAs started snoring and being dismissive of her. We're better than that. We got to be better than that. We're paying you good money and you're going to start snoring because you don't want to hear a question from somebody exercising their democratic right speaking to you. That's wrong, man. But we got to the point where they said we will not get the numbers for a referendum. Guess what? They were wrong. They lied. Despite every obstacle they threw in our way, we got to that stage, but that's just stage one. Stage two is now you got to show up to vote on referendum day. Use that privilege, use that power, and let the government of the day understand this is how we think about the issue. The government of the day might ask a crazy question like, do you support government tourism policy? That's a pretty vague question. That will not be good enough as a referendum question. The referendum question needs to be centered on this proposed project in this proposed location about whether you support the project or not. And before you can get to the stage of having a view, get informed. And the government, the ball is in their court. They have the information. We'd like to see an updated EIA. We'd like to see the final business case. We'd like to see all the reports, the geological studies. We'd like to understand that there's really no risk to the 7 Mile Beach and that the concerns addressed in the 2015 environmental impact assessment have been dealt with. We'd like to understand that. We'd like to understand that the government won't spend $1 million campaigning against CPR and democracy by telling people, stay home, don't come out to vote, you don't need to show up for the referendum. If there's any elected official that takes that tone and that particular strategy to tell the people to stay away from the polls and not vote, how can you be a defender of the Constitution, one, a champion of democracy, and a representative of your people? You got elected on the basis that people showed up to vote, and now potentially you will have a government campaign that says, don't show up, it'll be fine. It has been done. McKeeva Bush did it in 2012 during the one man, one vote sort of referendum. We've seen it happen in our recent history. McKeeva Bush is now a member of this government, and this government seems to follow everything that McKeeva Bush has tried to do. So what's to prevent them from doing exactly the same thing? But we have to be smarter than that, because this is a chance for everybody to have their say. For everybody, if you feel upset and vexed and you feel like you're losing control of the country, this is your chance to take back control and to show the elected officials, hey, my voice, my vote counts, because your vote impacts our future. Today, for tomorrow, for you, for your children, for your grandchildren. That's what this referendum is. And it isn't about me against the Premier or me or Mario against anybody. This is about the principle of we are exercising our democratic rights, and this is what participatory democracy looks, feels, and sounds like. And if anybody, especially an elected official, can tell you that you should not come out and exercise your vote, your right to vote, they should not be getting a paycheck. Because they took an oath and they swore to protect the Constitution and the rights afforded to you in the Constitution, not to do that sort of rubbish. And that's why I call it like the Kremlin and Radio Moscow and all the rest of it, because the tactics that they take. And again, if you doubt me, how in the world can the Premier and the Deputy Premier tell the country you can unverify your verified signature? That happened a month ago. So I'm not making this up. These guys come up with these sort of strategies to destabilize and encourage people not to exercise their rights. That's wrong. We all want what's best for Cayman. If the referendum passes in favor of the port, I want the best port possible for the Cayman Islands. One that addresses financial, economic, and the socio-economic concerns that have been addressed. If the referendum is successful where the majority vote against the government position, then the government have to comply, because it's a binding referendum under Section 73 of the Constitution. I am not anti-government, anti-state. I'm against crazy decisions, expensive decisions that will negatively impact our way of life and accelerate our demise so that we become the next failed Caribbean state. That's why I do what I do.
Well, Johan, hopefully you'll get a chance to join us again in the future.
Well, hopefully you'll be employed so I can do so.
I'll encourage you. No worries, man. We live in a democracy. Hey, tomorrow's another day. Trust and pray that we'll be a part of it. Invite you to join. Mr. Art Corner for the record in the morning. Call in and, share your thoughts with him as well.
I'll call in.
And
see, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you like
you can't be yourself. And then come back for Talk Today right after the midday news. Listen, this is a beautiful, wonderful place. And like the caller's prayer was shared that, it wasn't that long ago we experienced Hurricane Evan. Let's remember our friends and family. Some are former co-workers, some are, even to colleagues today. They're experiencing perhaps a much more devastating, consequence. So not only do we keep them in our prayers, but let's see if we can help them through our actions as well. And do so, respectfully and positively and productively. And let's be in prayer for other, paths of destruction that seemingly, could wreak havoc upon us. Until tomorrow, be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.